Hello, everybody. My name is Rodgon. My name is short for Rodrigo Gonzalez. And today we are going to be drawing together. So let's grab our sketchbooks. Let's grab our pen. We're going to use some watercolors today. A little bit of watercolors. And we will be using just a ballpoint pen. Nothing special. I don't like using anything ridiculously expensive or out of the reach of anyone, so that everybody can join in. Okay? So today's lesson is going to be something similar to what we did a couple days ago. And that was the 100 face challenge. So we did 100 faces within the span of 4 hours, I believe, was what we did. So today we are going to be drawing 100 hands, because hands are hard and hands are something that people need help with. So let's draw 100 hands and explain and talk about the hands and what they do and how they're shaped and all that stuff. Okay, let me zoom in here so you guys can see a little bit clearer. Perfect. All right, so when we're talking about hands, we have to take into consideration that we always have a reference with us, right? We always have a reference with us anywhere we go. We can just look at our hands. Now, there's just certain angles and stuff that you can't really look at, when you are looking, but you always have something that you can reference. So it's silly for me when people tell me that they don't have any good drawing references. Mostly because you have the best drawing reference right here. Now, one thing that you can do, if you are interested in learning how your anatomy works, you're going to grab your hand. You're going to start drawing the parts that are significant. Now, look at that line right there. So my knuckles are the end of my knuckle is way beyond the edge of my hand. But my knuckle starts right here. Right? So what does that tell us? It gives us one big segment of our hand that consistently shifts. So we need to see that as one segment, right? Or a junction. Now, the rest of the hand is not shaped like a box. It's shaped more if you cut out the thumb, it ends up being very rounded, not so much squared, right? And then when we spread it and stuff like that, the width doesn't really change, but the depth and the way that it squishes does. Like, these muscles don't contract. You can't contract them, but you can get them closer together. So that's the difference between that and like other muscles. Now, pay attention to a couple elements from here, okay? Because this is going to be important. The middle of the hand connecting to the middle of your wrist, let me scoot up a little bit, is going to connect to the middle of your finger. Like, the middle of your wrist can easily be aligned with the middle finger. Now, knowing that, whatever hand shape we do is going to have one knuckle on this side of the line and two knuckles on this side of the line. So now we have all our hands nicely mapped out, right? And then the distances that we are going to be considering are as such. The distance from here to here, from this knuckle to this knuckle, is going to be roughly the same distance from this knuckle to this knuckle. Okay, so this and this is going to be the same distance. But remember, the knuckle doesn't start at the edge of the hand. It starts all the way back here, right? So your knuckle line, your bone, is all the way out here. This might be the part that's poking out, but whenever you are bending it and taking your dimensions, it's from inside your palm, not outside your palm. So you got to keep that in mind. One more thing to keep in mind whenever we are drawing these is the underside. For the underside of the hand, we are going to be, again, our knuckle line is just this little line right here. That's our knuckle line. These are our knuckles. That's your knuckles. That's like the same bone, right? But it gives you like a little pouch thing. So now we have that on the top and that on the bottom, easily mapped out. Cool. That's going to do the same thing. The midline is going to go towards our middle finger. On this side, we're going to have one big palm part. And then on this side, it's a little bit more flexible. So I like to make it into one and then a segment. And then this side is squishy too, but so, right? But that's kind of how I do it. And then this I leave as negative space. So it creates like a feeling like you have something to create depth. So that's how I kind of segment my hands. So now keeping that in mind and how this is going to be structured, now let's translate that to a drawing. And then as we go about, we can always look back at our reference and you can start segmenting your hand and stuff like that so you can start seeing the different parts of how it looks in perspective. Right? So that's how you, like, if you're serious, oh my God. Let me turn off all these notifications because this is going to drive me nuts. There you go. No one calls me and it's only spam. So I'm tired of that shit. Let me get the YouTube chat going too so I know what you guys are saying. Hi, Raging Chocolate. Hi, Christopher S. 100 hands sounds like a nightmare. It's actually going to sound like a nightmare until you realize how cool it is to draw them. So let's see. We're going to draw our hand shape. Now, we're not going to concern ourselves too much with it being perfectly squared or perfectly like, let's draw a little bit at an angle, I guess. Hold on. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. So we're not going to concern ourselves with the hand being like perfect size, right? The overall shape that I like to draw my hands in is a Pringles shape. It's a Pringles shape like this. This type of shape, for me, is the ideal hand shape because it flexes, it moves, it squishes, it rotates, and stuff like that. So from a top view, any shape can be like a Pringles shape. It could be a wide hand. It could be a skinny hand. Well, we'll make a couple different ones so you guys see how this applies to all of them. Now, the midsection is going to determine where our middle finger is going to go. Our middle finger normally goes with our wrist. It doesn't really deviate from our wrist. Like if you twist it to the side, trying to go opposite of your wrist wants to turn that way. So it kind of dictates how your wrist is going to go too. In this case, we'll just draw a little bit of a finger. We're not going to determine sizes. I just want to dictate that there's going to be a finger, and that's about the width of the finger. That's going to dictate my knuckle. On this side of this slide, we're going to have one more knuckle, and that's going to be our thumb side. Okay? One towards the thumb, two towards the pinky. So that is already going to give us where our fingers are going to come out. Now, what we do with our fingers is, it's completely irrelevant to this, right? We can do whatever we want with our fingers at this point, but we're just mapping out the anatomy. So remember, we have our knuckle line. Boom, 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 boom. Cool. It seems like at the top of our knuckle line, that's when it starts going into our thumb. So that's after your knuckle line. We'll do this with a bunch of these guys so you guys see how it applies to. Right. And when you think about it like this as well, you can play around with the idea of the knuckles being gigantic. Like once you start learning different parts of the anatomy, now you can start playing around with it. Right? Now, since you understand how knuckles work, now you can make really large knuckles. Right? Like really awesome, like cool Wolverine type of like shit. And your fingers come out of your knuckles. So once you understand how your knuckles work, your fingers become a lot easier to draw. So we have our knuckle, and we determined from our knuckle to our first part of our segment, so from here to here, is going to be our first segment. Right? Now the next two segments are going to be the same distance as from here to here. So from here to here, we double it, boop, boop, and then we split that in two. And we have the distance for one finger. You can repeat that same process really quickly for the rest of them. And it doesn't have to be exact. It can be approximate, okay? Because everybody has different sized fingers. It doesn't have to be exact, but this is a very approximation that's going to help you be more accurate with your designs, right? It's just going to relate a little bit closer to real anatomy as opposed to stylized anatomy. But that's perfectly fine, as long as you get it more resembling real anatomy. So when we were looking at our thumb, we have our little tube. Pew, pew, pew. Right. And then we have the top that looks like a jelly bean. Bump. This connects to our wrist. And this would be the basis of a rudimentary hand. Now let's go on to some other different size hands. So in this case, we want to be able to draw some fingers here, so I'm not going to draw the palm, but we have our little tube for our thumb, and then let's just draw him with his thumb out. Right? In this one, let's draw it being like a frontal one. So if you're drawing a frontal punch or something like that, these are the knuckles, these are your fingers, and what happens when you bend your hand, your knuckles pop out. So these knuckles that you already drew in already give you all the information you need. You have your little cone part into your jelly bean. Now, the more accurate you are with perspective in understanding concepts like a box as well. I know that I said that a hand is not a box, but if you still have something like a fist, that would be very close resembling a box when it comes down to shading and perspective. So you have to keep that in mind as well. Like it's not just visualizing things as one way and that's it. Like there's no like one all be all type of like rules. You have to take all of them. All of the ones you learn, and then you have to apply all of those rules to everything you draw. because not all the rules work all the time. And not all the techniques work all the time. So the more you know, the more you're gonna be able to troubleshoot. Imagine that you're running anti firm malware software on you yourself, right? And you're constantly having to update with new shit. And if you don't do that, then the computer gets bogged down and you get all the viruses from all the porn that you guys see. So that is essentially what happens. You have to update yourself. All right, so let's go on to our next hand. Let's draw this one a little bit prettier since we are drawing a 100-hand challenge. This one, let's see. And this one, let's have the hand fingers do something a little weird, like curve up or something. Boom. So we have a knowledge that from here, from this knuckle, there has to be an appendage that goes out, right? There has to be an appendage. So this appendage just happens to be a very scraggly looking finger with a big nail on the top of it. There you go. Okay. So now, in order to match that, I just have to make this similar shape going from each one of these directions. Now, they don't all have to be bendy or curvy. They can go in different directions and it still will look good, as long as you understand the basics of what you're drawing, right? That is essentially the premise of caricaturing and understanding how to cartoon something. Is to simplify and animate and tell a story with it. So a hand can be absolutely any shape as long as you keep into consideration the knuckle line that consists of 4 knuckles. We have the split on the bottom, right? Creating our 2 little fleshy parts and our negative space. So it looks kind of like a little paw, like a little animal paw, right? And that is the same concept you apply when you draw animal hands. Same concept, knuckles and fingers come out of these little nubbies, which are your fingers, and these little paw parts that you draw are just the little under knuckle parts for humans. So there you go. Now you know how to draw animal legs and feet and stuff like that now. Ta-da! Now, if you guys are actually enjoying this and you guys are liking what I'm doing, let's hit some subscriptions and likes and stuff like that. Here. Ta-da! Hit this guy. Recommend my videos so people learn how to draw things. If you guys are from an art school, I am taking solicitations for art teacher. I want to be an instructor. I want to teach people at a college level. I cannot do this in California because I don't have my master's degree. So I am putting an open call out there for anybody in the world that has an art school that wants me to teach. I will really consider moving to be able to teach and do what I want to do for a living. So it's open, throwing it out there in case anyone wants to take advantage of that. Now, okay, let's going back to our hand. Now, what were the parts that we are going to look at? We're going to look at our knuckle line. One side has 1, one side has 2. That is how you determine your fingers. Now, this bottom part is going to determine where your thumb comes out. This bottom third or this bottom fourth, that's where your thumb comes out. Okay, so this translates to that. And then from there, again, you can just draw your hands, your fingers coming out from your knuckles, however you feel like. And if you want to keep proper anatomy and proportions, just make sure to divide them like I mentioned. Right? So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's draw a profile. So once you get good and you get used to it, you will be able to draw hands much, much quicker, doing more interesting things. And then issues like placements and stuff like that just ends up being a little bit less of a hassle. It's going to be fun because we're going to start going into the crevices of these, and then we're going to start making hands with these in between places once we get a hole. Like, I love doing exercises like these because it teaches me how to draw things in ways that I normally would not think of. So I'm going to eventually fill this page up, and then it's going to end up with gaps and small spaces that I'm going to need to fill in. So Pringle shape, right? Pringle shape, and then let's say we want like a little princess hand. Like, ta-da! So I'm gonna make the shape that I want my fingers to be in. Right? I want my fingers to look all elegant and pretty like so. So now I have to make my elements, my anatomy, fit that shape. So we go back and we reflect on what we are looking at within our hand. Any bumps are probably going to mean bone, right? Anything that has a bump probably means that there's some sort of hard surface underneath. So if the bump is here, that means that one of my knuckles is here. So I'm going to draw one knuckle. That information alone is kind of like playing Sudoku, right? Once you have one thing that makes sense, now everything else can make sense after that. So once we have this, and that could be the knuckle for this finger, now I got to determine what finger is this. That is going to be the index finger. So that means that that is the finger to the left of the middle line, right? So that means that there's another knuckle right next to it, pushing this one behind it. And then from this side, seeing as this is the middle, I can divide my middle shape now. And then I have two more knuckles on this side of the hand. I'm seeing that this shape is right here, so one of them has to be here. And then the other one seems to be like the whole Disney princess thing where the two middle fingers are put together, so we put them both close together. Cool. Now, once we have this, now we know where our palm of our hand is, or the top of our hand, which is kind of just like the top of the potato. There's nothing really special about that, except if you want to add the details from the knuckles, you know, tapering down. But most people don't really even do that. From here, we find our wrist. Our wrist is going to determine the width of our hand, right? Because these are all three-dimensional shapes, and we got to still start seeing things like that. From here, the hand connects to the wrist at an oval shape. And then from here, we have both our bottom palmy, like fleshy parts. That's one, that's two, which is already identified with the Pringle shape as well. This little fleshy part. Weak. And then we go into our fingers. So if this is the total length of the finger, I gotta divide this into 2 equal parts from the knuckle, and then determine what styling I want to give it. This wraps around the knuckle line underneath our finger because the knuckles pop up in the top and the bottom. This hand is going to be more like this. And eventually you start getting to the point where you don't have to map it out. You just start thinking about it and you just start drawing them very, very easily and loosely. And that's when it starts getting fun. All right, so we have that. And then let's just start drawing some hands how I would normally like go about drawing them. So you guys get an idea of how I would approach like doodling them. If a character is like very fashionista or something like that, I would create very long, elegant nails. Maybe like, give like some nails. Let's talk a little bit about the fingers. Let's talk a little bit about the fingers. Yeah, hands. I remember breaking my wrist playing derby and looking down at it going, well, that ain't right. That sucks. Fingers. Let's draw a hand, and then we'll draw one finger. A finger and a thumb. How about that? Do finger and a thumb. So you guys understand kind of like the difference when you're like drawing them. Okay, so when you have a finger, you have a couple different segments. You have 3 segments actually, right? They are all coming out of your knuckle. Now, your knuckle normally doesn't look like a complete sphere. Your knuckle tends to look like this. Right? That's how your knuckle looks. This is how we draw it. The knuckle is just a representation of the little part in your bone that sticks out. Okay, so this muscle, this circle that you draw is you creating this little bone that sticks out. But when you draw it, you only really draw the little bump that sticks out whenever it's, you know, really protruded. Same thing with these. That's why you get that little shape. It's because your bones are connecting and creating those crevices. And when you bend them, right, they create a junction, and that creates your knuckle. So that is why you have little bumps on your fingers. So now we're going to apply this knowledge to our finger. Now, the first 2 segments are pretty similar. This one has the big knuckle, and then this segment right here would be the end of the first segment, which leads to another big knuckle because they have a big segment, right? The next 2 segments are connected again, but the knuckle tends to be a little bit more subdued. So the third one is very much more subdued than the other 2 big knuckles. So this one tends to be a little bit smoother, and that's why I kind of like to just think about it as one big bendy shape as opposed to do a 2-segmented part. Because unless I really need to separate these 2, and make them move in different directions. See, my limitation of that top section to move by itself is very limited, right? Unless you're a very flexible person. So I like to keep these as just like a jelly bean, like a jelly bean amount of like movement. We're not gonna take lives or join lives. Sorry. What would you say is the most effective practice for anatomy? The most effective practice for anatomy is looking at something and then making sense of it in ways that make sense to you, right? For example, I didn't always know how to draw like this. Most of the time I was drawing through the things that people teach, which is like drawing a hand with like a curved top, and it's normally like referred to as a box, and then they tell you to split it in four, and then from there you need to come up with your knuckles that are supposed to be coming out like the cylinders from your hand shape, and then like more cylinders and cylinders or spheres. And whenever I saw things like this, and I was like, oh my god, I can't draw this because I can't draw in perspective. So hands were really hard because I didn't know how to draw anything outside of it, like going into this. Having foreshortened elements like fingers and stuff like that were like such a daunting task that I just wouldn't do it. Right? Because I didn't know how to draw something being foreshortened. But you know what, like, the reason was for that? It was that I honestly thought, and I want you guys all to reflect on this too. I thought that I understood the basic concept of taking an object and making it a 3D shape. I thought I knew that. But then I would have like a hard time drawing an eyeball, right? I'd have a hard time drawing something going around an eyeball, which is literally just an eyelid. Like, I couldn't do something like that because I didn't understand it. I knew the concept, but I was never applying it. Right? I understood the concept that this is a sphere, and then these are literally just little subdivisions that happen by dividing the sphere and creating hemispheres. But I did not think like this, but I knew the information. I knew the knowledge that was supposed to do this, but I just didn't apply it because I thought I knew that. I thought that I was doing it right, but I wasn't. I was literally not applying anything that I knew. So I want you guys to really challenge yourself right now and be like, all right, cool. Okay. Have I actually been applying all these rules that I think I know from anatomy and perspective? And how am I going to rectify if I'm not? Am I going to be able to be critically aware that you are not doing something that you already think you knew? Right? That was a huge generalization for me. Like, that came with like implications of me going back and relearning basic shit that I had thought that I had already mastered. Right? Like, honestly, like that came with a bunch of like self-realizations. I was like, oh shit, I really do not know like a very basic concept of this. And I had a career for 20 years. So not 20 years, not 20 years. Maybe like 15 years, because in the last 5 years I think I've grown like stupidly, like exponentially. But yeah, it's if you are ready for that like realization, it might help you get out of your stagnation. It might help you feel like you have something else to learn now. If you feel like you are like the shit and you don't have anything to grow and like do, hey, fantastic. Hey man, more power to you. But if you feel like you get a lot of art block, or you feel like, you know, a lot of little things like that, or depression because, you know, things aren't like coming out the way you want, or you haven't achieved the level of detail that you want in your art, go back to your basics. Like, no joke, refine your color theory, you refine your concept of contrasts, your perspective, anatomy. Any of those will help elevate all the art you already have. It's not something else you're learning, it's just another tool that you're adding to your arsenal. And then, yeah, you can draw like hands and stuff like that inside of those little pockets, pew, 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 pew. Which is kind of cool. Okay, going back to our hand. So we have our knuckles. We talked a little bit about why the knuckles are like that. And then we get to the nails. So the nails, I have been told I have pretty nails. Oh, thank you so much. I should have been a hand model. Oh. So, but look at my nail. Look at how it's shaped and how wide it is. Right? It really, from a profile, it's barely at the top, and it's kind of digging into my hand a little bit. So when you're drawing these, it's more so like that. It doesn't cover the whole hand. So whenever you're drawing them, I know that we're used to drawing them like this, right? Covering the whole hand. But no, you have a little bit of spacing on the sides. And it digs in. So it normally is going to curve in and create a little gap. So you're going to see this. Right? You're going to see the finger, the thumb, and then you're going to see a little gap when it connects, because it's digging into the skin and it has depth. This has thickness too. Right? These elements have thickness. Like, it's an actual shape. It's not just a line, it's a shape that's digging into another shape. If you can't see things like this yet, don't stress. It takes a long time to be able to visualize things to that level, right? To be able to just look at something and identify the basic shape of it takes a long time. So don't stress yourself out if you are not where, you know, other people are. First of all, don't stress about that ever. Like, their journey is their journey, right? Your journey is your journey. So you just consider who you have been and how you have grown and how you will, like, try to get better, and then fuck everybody else. It's that simple. We're gonna do hands today because we gotta do 100 hands. And since I'm not drawing many hands and I'm just talking about how to draw hands, let's hopefully not take 4 hours on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 so far. We have a while to go. All right, so the knuckles for the thumb are a little bit different, right? We have a bunch of flexiness right there. Whee! Look at that. So we have a little bit of webbing that happens in between your thumb and your fingers. So you gotta account for that. You can't just simplify everything. There has to be a point where you just have to realize that something is a more complex shape than you might be, like, used to drawing. And that's fine. You just have to learn how to do that. All right, you're gonna start doing your male pregnant shit thing. We're gonna just block you right now. Yeah, you're blocked, dude. Sorry. You're annoying. Okay, so let's go. Well, how to draw anatomy. Well, that's what I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you how to draw anatomy. What do you think anatomy is? Anatomy is the idea behind drawing something and, like, understanding the structure of it. That's what I'm teaching. We're going to be doing hands today. So if you guys don't want to do hands, there's another video on faces that I just did. And there is a bunch of like 100 other videos that you guys can go look at my YouTube channel. So there's a bunch of things that I've done abs and I've done chest and I've done bodies and I've done everything. So just go browse for the video that you guys feel like learning today and then, enjoy. When it comes down to the thumb, we have our big knuckle that's connected right here. Boom. Right here. Right? At the base, there is the big knuckle. And you can tell that it's a knuckle because it looks like it's sticking out from your body. Right? So we have that big knuckle part right here. And that's on the side of the body. That's at the side of the hand. When you're looking at it from a complete profile, let's say that we have like a hand that's just there. This sits right there. Not quite at the bottom, but not quite at the top either. Okay, it just nestles in there, and since it's just such a flexible part of your body, you don't have to really worry too much about it being perfectly shaped because it's gonna have a lot of fluid motion to it. So that's roughly where it lands. Right there. Okay. Again, knuckle, bone, bone. Knuckle, bone, bone. This one only moves this way and that way. Very rarely do you get people that have the ability to flip it to the side. Right? So, but that's roughly the angles that you can get. Like you can get really, really close up with your thumb. But that's about the limitations of your fingers. Your fingers side to side, they go up to a certain distance. So they only go about this far out. So each finger has a bunch of range, right? So this is how you learn how to create different hand-like positions. And how do you get used to drawing different angles and stuff like that. You do exercises like these, seeing the range of motion. This wrist part can bend in because you can bend your hand considerably, or you can bend it out, right? If your hand is being bent back. So this whole section also has flexibility, right? So whenever you are playing around with a hand shape, just sketch another one around it that has like a similar like position, but maybe changing the knuckles around a little bit, and then see how that looks. And it might look a lot cooler, right? But all this comes with the understanding of these basic elements. The knuckle, the positioning of your knuckles, and what your knuckles are in regards of the bumps and the lifts and the bumpy stuff, and also the fact that you need to realize that if you can't see things from the front and the back yet, like if it's hard for you to draw elements like spheres and draw like an ear on one side and then find the ear on the other, or if the jaw is hard for you, right? It's just a lack of understanding of 3D shapes and basic idealistic perspective. We're not talking about like perspective planes and putting like a vanishing point. No, fuck that shit. You don't need that shit. Okay, you don't need that type of perspective for most of your drawings. What you need is a way to subdivide your shape and visualize this as an element floating in space. So if I draw this line right here, right, that doesn't give me any indication as to where in space that is. It's just giving me an idea of where the front part of the drawing is going to be, or where my focus is going to be. From there, I can start dividing this in half and creating subdivisions so that I can start creating detail. Now that I have all these subdivisions, just from splitting it in half, now I can decide that these are going to be my knuckles. And then from there, I can start deciding what direction my fingers are going to be going, and then creating things and elements that just look properly in space, not necessarily based on a scene, because there's no scene here. There's no scene for these drawings, right? There's no element of background. There's nothing like that. But they still look properly set into perspective because I'm making all the elements relate to each other to whatever ideal perspective that in my brain it is. So if we map this out into a perspective plane, it would be something with the horizon point up here, right? And then like the shadows and shit like that would be like in the bottom. So to me, that is my ideal perspective. Most of the time when I'm drawing elements, it's in that perspective. In all reality, yeah, it seems like it. That seems like the way that I draw my elements. So I just learned to subdivide all my shapes in that perspective or in that way, and then they all come out looking pretty cool. Even though they're not based on any real like perspective plane or anything like that. I'm just basing it off placement and just basic shape manipulation. Right? All I'm doing is I'm taking cylinders, I'm taking cones, and I'm actually applying what we learn from our basic perspective classes and basic life drawing and shit. We're taking cylinders, cones, cubes, and shapes, and then creating our hands based on those elements. And yes, this is just not me. This is not me just telling you like, oh, rehash what you've learned. I'm teaching you guys the way to visualize it so that you guys actually can make sense of it, right? And then give you guys a couple alternate ways to think about them. So in case one of them doesn't actually like work. Like the funniest thing to me will always be when teachers expect all the students to draw a certain way or be like, oh, well, you have to do this like this. Or you have to do this like this. Oh, you have to. You know why they say that? It's because they don't know how to draw any other way. Most of the time, when a teacher is unable to explain things in a different way, it's because they don't know how. So it's like, cool. Right? But then they enforce the fact that they don't know by reinforcing their own insecurities about what they like or what they don't like. So this happens a lot when it comes down to drawing anime, right? Anime seems to be a very incredibly popular form of media, and for no reason should it be set aside as a less significant factor within the market. If you want to be an anime artist, all you got to do is apply your knowledge like this, your fundamental knowledge, and then apply a styling that of a manga artist would need. So it's literally just taking your foundations and applying a different style. It doesn't matter if it's a Mickey Mouse hand. Oh-ho! Right? Or a more realistic hand. The same concepts apply. Knuckles, knuckle line, middle of the hand, middle finger. Finger 1, finger 2, finger 3, finger 4. Finger 1, finger 2, finger 3, and thumb. Bye-bye. And we'll draw the thumb this way for this one. Right? It's once you have the method of drawing, you can then just apply a styling of your choice. Let's say we didn't want this to be like a Disney hand. Maybe we want it to be more like a real hand. Right? So we're going to give it more detail. We're going to give it some fingernails and some bendy parts and then some hair. And then it ends up looking like a hobbit hand more than anything. And then we'll make this one into a Disney one, like a little Mickey Mouse one. Maybe the fingers need to be a little bit bigger, but... So once you understand the concept behind the elements that consist of the hand, and you're able to visualize things in 3D instead of just lines, like I'm not looking and making circles. When I draw something like this, I'm not thinking of this. I'm thinking of this. And I'm already thinking of the elements that have depth and what parts are going to be bumpy and not. But that's because I already have been doing this for many, many years, right? So in order to be able to get to the point where you can get that level of thought and the way of thinking so you can create really awesome hands doing whatever you want, it comes with practice, and it comes with actually taking the time to analyze your drawings and give yourself feedback. So let's say here, right? Let's say that I did not like the way that this hand looked, and I was like, this just looks off. How do I make it look more? I'm like, okay, first of all, boom, boom, boom. Take a note. Hand, fingers, too long, too short. Cool. So now I make that notion, and then I go back into my own sketch, and I don't care about drawing over it because it's a bad sketch anyways, and I correct it. Cool. Now it went from being a bad sketch that I did not like to something that taught me. Right? So now something that I learned something from a bad sketch. If you are very, very, very inclined to draw something really simple, I suggest that you create little nubbies and then just get used to drawing little nubbies like this. Little nubbies are fantastic to draw little hands for cartoon characters, animals, and stuff like that. Okay? I don't know what Among Us hands look like. I'm going to assume it's just like a mitten. Isn't that what they look like? It's like a little like screen. It's something like that, right? Sorry, not too familiar with Among Us, but hopefully that looked like it. All right, let's see. Okay, so let's see. Let's write some comments because I haven't read any of the comments from YouTube. Do. Oh shit, we have a bunch of them. Let's skip a few. Why did YouTube not tell me there was a stream? Oh, well, Jessica, there will be. This video is on YouTube later on, so you guys will be able to watch it anytime you want. I missed 47 minutes of insight. Now I gotta catch up again. Mystery Jones, just don't feel creative at all because of that. Blue Devil, I used to copy everything and got good at it, but never learned the fundamentals. Ooh, that sounds like my story. Yeah, let's see what else. So I started copying the fundamentals, and the two just started meshing, and everything began to click. Yes, exactly. So let's say that you have been drawing for like 20 years, right? And for some reason you feel like your career stagnated or you couldn't get any better. Well, that comes along with probably the fact that you ended up like taking a style and then just thinking that one style would be able to carry you through your career. It does not happen often. Unfortunately, you have to adapt and be like water. You need to be able to like bend and change and learn and adapt to things that come into the market. In this case scenario, something very Relatable would be AI art, right? AI art is going to be something that is significant, almost as significant as Photoshop was for like designers when it came out. It's a brand new tool. We don't know how to use it yet, and we're afraid of it. But at the same time, if we embrace it, we are going to have full control over it because we, as creatives, have a gigantic leap on anybody that's trying to create anything, right? You got to understand this. Here comes your little blast of inspiration for you, okay? So you feel good about yourself today. Think of the awesomeness that is being able to grab anything around you. I don't know. Let's grab this thing right here. Just by me being an artist, I can make this look cooler by simply putting my creativity on it. That could be in the way of graffiti, that could be in the way of painting, that could be in the way of whatever you want. But it's a skill that a lot of us don't really think about, and it's fucking awesome that we have it. You can touch anything, paint on it, and make it beautiful, right? So that is the one thing that I want you guys to understand about your art. If you're able to draw, you're able to create beauty, right? You can make people smile. You can make people laugh. You can make people cry. You can make people like feel better. You can make people's day. You can make like people's entire lives like worthwhile with something that you create from your hands. You are an amazing, amazing person for being able to do this. The world will diminish this to you. The world will tell you that you should try something different, right? The world will tell you over and over to choose something that's more stable. Choose something that's going to make you money. Choose something that's going to make your family proud. We get that shit all the time. Okay? So, we don't go into this normally, and I don't know many people that do, but you don't go into this sort of career with the mindset that you're going to be a millionaire. Okay? You don't do this for that. If you want to just make a lot of money, you normally just start a business, much more lucrative. I promise you, you will do fantastic when it comes down to business if you go that route and you are that, money minded. When you go into art, we go into it thinking that we are going to be the next Walt Disney, right? Or like that we're going to work at an animation studio, or that we are going to be doing like amazing things with our creativity, with our ideas. The realization for a lot of people, especially the people that go to art school, is that they get that essentially beaten out of them, right? They tell you, oh, no, your dream is not going to be like what gets you there. It's going to be the thing that we teach you. And we'll teach you how to be profitable and how to make blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the day, they only teach you how to be an employee. Which fucking sucks. Not the fact that you're an employee sucks, the fact that they don't teach you how to survive without it. Like, what do you do if you don't get hired? Right? What do you do to make money if you have rent due and, your client hasn't paid you? What do you do then? Right? All those things come to us as we, navigate our career and how we, deal with that and are able to handle the idea of our ideal job that we went into art for not being our end goal anymore is a very soul crushing thing for a lot of people, right? That's why a lot of people that take art and make it into a job end up quitting, or they end up hating art because they started with the intentions of creating something awesome, with something with their own ideas and thought processes, and then they end up having to do fucking logos and like banners and shit like that for real estate agents, because that's the only market that is available for most of the people that work in metropolitan areas. And unless you're willing to move to Burbank, compete with hundreds of thousands of people for the chance to be, working at a studio that only hires you for a certain amount of months, anyways, it's a very daunting thing to think about, right? So that's why you have to learn and have to always push for your own brands. You got to push and use your creativity to make things work for you. Because like at the end of the day, you have to look out for you. Okay? You have to make sure that you understand that your career is your choice, and also that comes with the accountability of you as a person going, hey, maybe I'm slacking off too much and not doing what other people are doing to get successful. Maybe I'm prioritizing some other things other than my drawings or my studies because it's more fun. Right? We think about all the success that we want to have in life, but a lot of the times we are the people stopping us from actually succeeding. Like, how many times have you told yourself, and this is going to probably hit a lot more people than I think, but that you will start next year? No, you'll just start it next year, and then I'll like do it better because I'll know more, and I'll be able to like tackle this on way stronger. Like starting the new year, I'm gonna start it off strong, and I'm gonna do blah 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 resolutions. How many of you have thought like that? Or are thinking like that? How many of you haven't started that book because you're waiting for that new thing, that new whatever concept, idea? You're not there yet. You haven't thought about it enough. You haven't written the final copy. You haven't sent the final print. You haven't sent the final book design. You haven't sent the final cover. You know, this applies to so many things. And it's something that we all go through because we're creative people, and we can't just always be like on point. We can't always be like creating 1,000 things a minute. And we can't always be creative. Like, we also have downtime, and we also have we need to be able to unload in different ways that isn't creativity. Because once this is seen as a task, once this is seen as a chore, it's very hard to unsee it. All right, let's draw more big hands because we are taking up a lot of space. Let's just draw some random shapes, and we'll do hands from them. Potato chip. Boo. Fleshy part, middle part of our hand would be around there. So that means that my shape, my finger, and my knuckles are gonna start right there. I know this just looks like a bunch of like garbly like sketches, but to me this is a wrist, this is a palm, and I already see like a thumb and everything mapped out in my brain. So now we have fleshy part in the top part of my hand is probably going to be right here, so my pinky knuckle is going to be right there. My middle knuckle is right here, so that means that I have one more finger in between there. So I'm going to map it out. Then this side of the knuckle is going to have another one, so I'm going to draw one more. So now I have all my knuckles. I have my fleshy parts, so I can start cleaning up my lines. I even have my overlapping lines into my wrist. Cool. Fleshy part 1 means that fleshy part number 2 has to be around here. And fleshy part number 2 makes my thumb come out this way, not that far out. Now we get to decide what we want to do with our fingers. So let's start with the fingers that will cover any other fingers. So these two fingers right here, maybe we have them bent in. Into the knuckle, into the knuckle, into the palm. Cool. Then these two fingers, maybe they're throwing like, I don't know, like a peace sign or something. So one knuckle is going to be coming out and up. And then this other knuckle has to create an element of contrast. So we will point one coming this way and one pointing this way. And we'll differentiate it by creating a little bit of a frontal part. My thumb is over here. Kind of weird hand shape, but I like it. The fingers themselves have sides, right? So your fingers have depth. They have sides to them. They have surfaces. They're not just little lines. Nothing is just a little line. Get used to that concept so that you have a better understanding of what you're drawing. Because if you're able to start seeing things like this, you're going to be able to draw anything much easier. It's going to come down to the point where you're going to be able to draw bodies and stuff like that really easy as well. Rodgon the artist, invest in a drawing tablet. Dude, I have the best equipment you can buy. Like, I literally have the best equipment you can buy, but nothing beats filling up a sketchbook, and nothing beats drawing by hand. Like, so thanks for the advice. And if you've ever seen any of my videos, you'd realize that I do digital stuff too, so it's not just me wanting to draw in my sketchbook. Let's see. In doubt, always think about Amy Poehler's suite. Great people do things before they're ready. They do things before they know they can do it. Yeah, essentially, yeah. If you want to, you're gonna do it. There's really, like, as an adult, if you make your own money and you have no constraints when it comes down to following your dream, as in, like, sometimes having a family, having kids, having a wife and stuff like that, or things that you have to keep in mind before you make any big decisions. But if you're not in any of those situations, there's nothing stopping you from going out and just trying to conquer the world when it comes down to some sort of design element. Like, if you want to be a trendsetter, what's keeping you from doing that? Not saying that it's easy, but what's keeping you from dedicating your time and your effort and your, you know, just overall efforts to making that happen? Right? Like if you want something badly, you'll go get it. Like there's nothing, no one's gonna stop you from that. You've lost the plot. The plot of what? It's my stream. I get to choose what the plot is. Ha 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 ha. I is the teacher. I dictate terms. Plus, drawing hands over and over helps you just understand shapes better. Do. Why do many? As if someone told him to invest in a tablet. If you join as a sub on Instagram or TikTok, you can get a link. Yeah, you can get a link to all the subscriber streams. You can get a link to downloads with templates that you can use for your own companies and like your own clothing lines and stuff like that. I'm gonna eventually, by the end of the end of the year is coming, but by the end of like a certain time, I want to be able to provide enough templates and stuff like that for people to be able to start their own online store with their own designs. Pewdie reviews. What's your favorite TV show? My favorite TV show is probably The Office. I know every like person and their mom likes The Office, but to me it's more like a comfort thing. Like I've seen it so many times and I just put it on so I can hear. This is going to sound super like weird, but I put it on just so I can hear voices so that I don't feel like I'm by myself all the time. And that is yeah, it's more like a comfort thing. So if you guys see what I did here, I come up with my potato chip shape. Then I use my knuckles to create the curvature of the bottom of my hand. And then from there, my hands, my fingers, and everything come out. But that gives you like a quick, good indicator real quickly of how you're supposed to draw. A big factor in learning how to draw things from memory, in learning how to do things like this sort of stuff, is understanding that you might have to unlearn a bunch of shit that has conditioned you to draw a certain way. You got to unlearn a lot of the stuff that is so cemented into your brain that it's like just there now, right? Like it's like part of your style or whatever. That's stuff that you have to like undo. You have to like really like go back and think about it and just stop with bad habits, especially if you acknowledge them. If you can actually acknowledge your own bad habits and you keep doing them, then that's like your own problem, because then at that point you're just being stubborn, and that is a big part of it too. Like stubborn artists that are unwilling to understand that they make mistakes and they have places to learn or grow are the people that just get stagnant over time. So, don't be that person. Hands used to be something I hated drawing, but now I enjoy drawing hands. Yeah, me too. Like I used to hate hiding them. I used to hide them all the time. I used to like put them in like weird positions so that you wouldn't have to see them. But now it's kind of just like another part of like the drawing. Because once you take away a lot of the guessing work from it, it becomes a less daunting thing. Like the same thing happens with the wrist and the forearms and stuff like that. When you start understanding the concept of your bones underneath and how they actually work, right? You start seeing the muscle structures go around them. And once you see that, you just can't unsee it, right? Once it clicks once, that's all it really requires for you to be able to get that notion in. So again, that's why I draw things in so many different ways. I try to approach them in different methods so you guys can all like try to like see it differently. And then eventually, my hopes is that at one point, one of those methods will click for you guys. And if it does, then I have done my job. And if I didn't, well, at least I pointed you in the right direction, and now you know what method doesn't work for you. So win-win. I'm using negative space to create contrast to make the shape look like it's going a bit back. This is why constructive criticism is important. See, the thing is, most people will not take criticism from somebody they don't respect. Even if that person is a very prevalent person in the industry. Like, people will just not take advantage of any criticism. People just don't like being criticized. Like, that is the end thing. Like, people just don't like being criticized. We get told over and over as we grow in our career that we are like the golden child. Oh, you can draw anything. Oh, my baby, my blah, 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 blah. Oh, like, you're so awesome. Nothing can, oh, you're the best. You can create. We get babied so much that the moment that we receive our first air of like criticism or feedback, we like lose it. Right? We're like, oh, what do you mean? Like, my mom and my aunts keep saying that I'm awesome. Like, I must be awesome. I have met people that straight up go into fucking meltdowns because you tell them that they're not ready for professional work. And they're like, oh, well, no, like my mom and like everybody in my family tells me that I'm great. I'm like, yes, they're going to. The harsh reality of things is we are going to be told by our loved ones that our art is good. Right? That is not like a surprise to anybody. That is something that we are going to have to like, like understand and everything. Now, you have to understand that the level of quality needs to match whatever you are outputting as a professional. So instead of relating to other people, just start trying to see if your skills are at least marketable, right? If you are confident in something you do, then you can market that. That being a person, if you don't know how to draw heads and you only know how to draw really like happy stick figures, but they're really cute stick figures, right? If that is your thing and you are amazing at it and people like it, it doesn't matter that you're not drawing a realistic thing. You're drawing something that you're good at, professional or not. Now you are ready to make money with your art. Okay? And then once you find something that can be profited from with your own skill set, then you start delving into how do you improve that skill set. And little by little, you'll start drawing much cooler things. And it'll take a while, but eventually you'll get to the point where you can just draw hands and not even worry about it. But it'll get to the point where hands are just another thing that you draw that you can add styling to. And little by little, your understanding of the basic shapes will come if you actually are looking to get better. But if you're not, you're obviously never going to improve. You're just going to like stay where you are And you might get better when it comes down to drawing like a certain style, but your overall like view on things will stagnate too. So you're not going to get the growth that other people do. And that won't be apparent until like way later in your career. Like you won't see that like now. You'll probably see that in like 10 years. You'll be like, oh my God, how come this person's getting hired by this people and I haven't gotten this? My style used to be the coolest. Well, buddy, your style is no longer cool. Because styles are subjective and styles change and styles migrate and styles stop being styles. And then it's just, constantly hearing how good you are stifles growth. I try to push myself to get better. Yeah. Like I find, as much as this pains me to say, like I find people that compliment my work much less interesting than people that don't. Whenever somebody doesn't compliment my work and they're like finding flaws and everything, I'm like, cool. Awesome. Like I find that fascinating because I'm like, okay, cool. Now I can finally start seeing what maybe somebody else that does not like my art thinks of my art. Therefore, I can viably use that information to either help myself get better at that one thing, or two, find something that's more marketable for people in that demographic. So my brain is never like, oh my God, that person's mean. Like, it's never that. Because their opinion is important regardless of if it's good or bad. I can use that information to benefit me, or I can use that information to make myself sad. And I don't choose to make myself sad. Because why would anyone want to make themselves sad? Ta-da! Do you sketch digital? Yeah, I sketch digital too. What do you do for work? Well, up until May or March, May. No, I think it's May. In May, I got laid off from my editorial book job. So I used to be a book editor. That's my last office job. I was a book editor for a company called Puppy Dogs and Ice Cream. Honestly, best job I've ever had. It was awesome. It was amazing. I was really good at it. Like, really good at it. I helped edit and publish about like 150 books. And then, after 3 years of working with them, the company just decided to let us go. The entire art department. They were like, oh, thank you. You guys were great. There's no reason. Okay, bye. Right now I'm using pen. Just a pen. So that came at a interesting point in my life too, because that came and coincided with a couple months after me getting broken up after like 5 years of like a tough relationship, honestly. And it was just me like thinking like, fuck, what am I gonna do now? I lost my job. I lost my girl. Like, what the fuck do I have left in my in this? And you know what? I just decided to go for it and then started doing freelance work again. I got a bunch of really cool things, competitions and contests that I've been winning. And I'm essentially just trying to build as many accolades as I can right now, and so that I can push my own school. I want to start my own little school. That's going to be the goal. I want to release a bunch of books because I wanted to release art books, and I want to release how to draw books, and I want to release pinup books, and I want to draw cute animals and derpy animals and vehicles and shit like that. I just want to draw. Like, my goal is to make drawing my life. Right? My life, my goal in life is to just draw for a living. If I get to teach while I draw, I'll be in heaven. So the way that I see things going out is that I need to find a way that I can get that to happen. Right? The reason that I stream for hours sometimes here on TikTok or in YouTube is because I need to get used to the conditions that I need to apply myself to be able to achieve the job that I want. Right? If I want to be paid to talk and host art contests and crap like that, then I need to be able to be comfortable in front of a camera. I need to be able to explain things without being flustered and without needing explanations or lines or all that shit. I need to be able to be impromptu. I need to be able to talk on the spot and be able to communicate as well as I can within the capabilities of what's given to me. And not that I want to be a host or anything, but I have the ability now since I've practiced public speaking for so long. I would love to do inspirational talks at like colleges and art schools. Like that would be amazing. That would be awesome. I would love to do that. I don't even know where to start with that type of stuff, but that would be something that I would be more than happy to do if you guys are going to art school and you guys find a way to like get me out there. I'll be more than happy to talk to entire classes, honestly. Give advice, forums, go draw with you guys. Teach you guys a little bit about what it's like being an artist in like real world situations. Like the one thing that I love doing whenever I go to any like new colleges, I used to do this talk over at the Art Institute every year, where I talked to the people that were about to graduate, and then we would discuss like what their tribulations would be and how like they thought the market was going to treat them. And honestly, like a lot of them would just be completely shocked. Like they'd be like, "Holy shit!" Like I did not know that we had to like think about that. I didn't know we had to plan for this. I didn't know that we had to do this or that. And it's just ends up being like like very informational, like information for people that need it. Because you don't need it if you're a freelancer. Honestly, if you're a freelancer and you're doing okay and you're selling art, you're gonna learn through trial and error. But whenever it comes down to somebody that just paid $100,000 to go through an education, and they don't even know how to price like a commission or something, that's the tough part. That's like insanely like predatory to me. That's what I think. Let's read some comments. Chris Cook reminds me of the bear from Cleveland show. I try to believe that things happen for a reason. I had a job this year, but I got told that I got epilepsy and my license got taken away. Oh my god, that sucks. Well, I don't know where it'd be. Well, hopefully art helps you through it. But remember, you have to like really like reevaluate this shit and like, ugh, I hate doing that. Have you heard of Toastmasters? What's Toastmasters? Mr. Seven, thanks for your sharing your journey, experiences, and insight. Blue Devil, Rodgon, where are you? When you were a kid, did you even have a mullet? I did not have a mullet, but I did have this like awesome little like. I had a bowl cut. So my hair was like a straight up little bowl. And I had like these gigantic glasses. Like big, like turtle shell, like line glasses. That just made my eyes look ridiculously big. Let's see. Again, styling from the faces and stuff like that. If you are curious and you want to learn more about that, go look at my 100 faces challenge video. You will be better at drawing heads after that. Like, there is no way in heaven or hell that if you watch that and you follow along with it, that you will not be incrementally better at the end of it. I promise you that. Quite confident of that. Also, for what I want to do, I need to be more extroverted. So I need to be able to talk to people in a fun and engaging way. I am not an extroverted human being. I am a very introverted human being, and I absolutely detest human interaction if I can avoid it. So that presents itself with its own little issues, because whenever I need to go, like meet clients or anything like that, to me, it's just like, ugh. But one reassuring thing for me was that whenever I went to Lightbox Expo as an attendee, and that was like 3 years ago, but it was one of the most awesome and epic times of my life. Right? Like, it was just amazing to see people that like have been following me online, and like they just really wanted to share a little bit of time with me, and that was awesome. Yeah, that was me when I was a little kid. And to keep it relevant, we're gonna draw him holding something. I'll have to do another video on body structures and how to properly relay that when it comes down to cartoony shapes and forms. Because a lot of us whenever we try to like do proper anatomy for like cartoon characters, sometimes, it looks off, sometimes it looks weird. And, there are little tiny hints and tips and tricks that you can like keep in mind whenever you draw them. So I'll have to do that. Little nubby hands. Talking is hard for absolutely no reason. Actually, talking is not hard. I think talking and having something to say that's actually relevant to something out in the world is hard. That is the hard part. We'll have him holding a hand. Since we're drawing hands. Now, at one point, you're going to get to the point where you're going to want to distort things, right? And start playing with that. Like, start seeing if you can make those shapes work in awkward positions, right? In this case, I'm bending this shape all the way around, so you see the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to try to make the fingers go from here and even bend back a little bit. There you go. That knuckle creates a crevice, creates a little latch, and I don't have to worry about the other knuckle because the finger's bending so much. Right? So if this is the bottom of the hand, or the top of the hand from underneath, this is the middle. That means that this knuckle right here is going to have my other finger. I'm just going to point it the other way. Point them down. And then this becomes our little triangle for our thumb. And just like that, we took like a random shape and created a pretty decent hand. And the reason that it looks decent is because it's structured through like actual proportionate shapes instead of style, right? You could have applied any styling to that and then it still would have worked just as well. My schedule changed and I have been missing your streams, so I've been watching the YouTube videos. Well, thank you. Toastmasters is a nonprofit educational organization that teaches public speaking and leadership skills through a worldwide network of clubs. Ooh, that sounds cool. I'd be a cool Toastmaster. They'd have to shut me up though. Chris Cook, you should do the Dylan handshake from Predator. Exaggerated wrist tendons. So let's say that you wanted to break a hand, right? So if you wanted to break someone's hand, you would have these segments to consider. So you're going to have your wrist. Your wrist is going to have bones. It has two bones that rotate, right? Back and forth. That is going to connect. That's the part that's going to be broken. And you get the blood. Here, the connecting point is the wrist. Into the fleshy parts of your hand. But it doesn't go directly into that. It has this little tiny ledge, right, between the hand and the wrist. Now, the way that I like to explain it is that we are taught normally with a sphere right there, right? We normally have like our sphere for our hands and tubes and stuff like that. So whenever we're like drawing our hands, we forget that this little area right here is very flexible, and that's where it squishes right here when your bones connect to other bones. And that is one element that gets forgotten a lot. So I like to always think of the hand as having this additional section so that you can actually move it around. Let's say that that's like that part. It just gives you another reference point to be able to use and manipulate. Right? It just gives you that extra little like spacing that gives you a lot more flexibility. So that's why I like to keep that in mind. So when I'm drawing something that's breaking it, I'm gonna break it before that, like right at the junction before that, and then again, fleshy part into your knuckles, and your knuckles are what creates this other bump right here. Bump one, fleshy part. Bump two, knuckle line. Okay? And then your fingers. Knuckle line goes top and bottom. So remember that. Your knuckles are on the top and they're on the bottom. On the bottom, they represent themselves like this little squishy part. On the top, they're your weapons and your shield. Okay, let's count how many hands we have so far. And we will count them as we outline them with color. That way we know all the shapes that we are drawing. I have a feeling we're like close to 50. All right, let's get some water in these pH. So as we go in, I'm gonna talk a little bit about contrasts and why the reason that I do this. I explain that pretty much every single time I draw videos. And the reason that I'm doing this is so that you can see my sketches and I create little baby focal points by either adding color or surrounding a white sketch with color. in order for me to be able to see if I wanted to make this the focal point of the whole piece, all I have to do is add contrast around it. All right, let's make this hand blue so that stands out even more. Right. So now out of this whole page, this hand stands out because I created a focal point. And the focal point was created through contrast of color versus white. And the more that I enhance that, the more color I add to it, or the darker I add to this color, the more it's gonna just make you look at that as opposed to everything else. So what I like to do with my pages is I like to just go in and add a little bit of color because it makes my sketches look pretty, and I like my sketches looking pretty. And it also helps me reinforce the lessons that I have been talking about. So it makes me remember of the lessons of the proportions of the hand, right? And it just cements everything that I learned today, and I put it into a nice, pretty piece of art. It's not necessarily the prettiest drawing. It's not necessarily a pretty page. Like, it's not gonna win any awards. It's not gonna like get me like any popularity or anything like that. But at the end of the day, it's something that's really pretty that I really enjoy doing. So I can take the time right now to be like, cool, this hand maybe wasn't the best. Why was it not the best? Think about it as you color around it. Like, maybe this area could have like been pushed more, maybe pushed less. And then as you finish, just move on. Don't dwell on it too much. Go to the next one. Okay, so this finger right here seems like it could have been a little bit farther in. I'm just gonna like color it with color. Try to do a little self-correcting as efficiently as I can without like spending too much time on it. And man, cool. All right, I won't make that mistake next time. Or even better, go in and change it. Move on. This hand looks pretty cool. I like the way that this one came out. And as you, little by little, you're gonna start seeing all the shapes appear, and then your eye is just gonna be led in like a million different directions, which is an awesome feeling because I just like to saturate information into a page, right? This is all knowledge. You guys got to experience, learning this firsthand, but somebody that never got a chance to see this might just be inspired by this, right? They might like see this and be like, oh shit, oh that's cool, oh that's cool, I want to draw like that. How do you draw like that? And then eventually people just come to what they're attracted to. So those people will see like lessons, they'll have knowledge, and they'll be able to learn what I've learned. Because as an educator, I have set myself out to like reach as many of you guys as I can. Not for money. Honestly, like if I could do, like if I could be like the old times, right? Like where I just had like a patron. Like if a company that's big enough, like big or like whatever, was like, okay, we want to do something nice for the world. Let's just house and feed this man that wants to teach people and just have him do that for the rest of his life. I'd be so happy. Like, I'd be so happy. I'd be like, cool. All right, I get to do what I want, and I get to do it for free. God damn. I want to be a teacher. But I want to be a teacher to people that want to learn. Right? I want to be a teacher at college level. Like, I've taught high school. I've taught high school programs, I've taught like middle school programs, I've taught kindergarten programs. Kindergarten programs are so cute. They get so happy when they draw little dinosaurs and stuff. And oh my god, it like melts your heart whenever they start crying when they don't get like a little circle right. Oh, unfortunately, those jobs pay like nothing, and therefore it's not a sustainable thing that you can't like do for a living. That's why like they require after school program people to do it. But it's just like, man, that would be awesome. I taught how to draw the coolest dinosaurs. Like they would give us lesson plans, right? Because they're not used to people knowing how to draw that well whenever they like go to teach. So they give you these lesson plans and you're supposed to follow their lesson plans, but their lesson plans were garbage. So I just came up with my own little lesson plans, and the kids would expect that level of like teachings from the other people that would go teach them, and they just could not do it. Right? They're like, oh well, I can't teach you how to draw a lion because today it's the camels. And I'd be like, oh, you want to draw this? Cool, let me show you how. Oh, you want to draw a penguin? I got you. You want to draw a panda? Oh, I got you in that. Oof, okay, cool. And by the end of the day, every kid had their own animal, and then they drew each one over and over and over and over, and then they like made little badges and stuff like that for their class, like based on their animal that they drew. It was really, really cool. It was really cute. So, like teaching that level is fascinatingly like adorable, but it's not my path, right? My path is to guide people that are really ready to just like tackle the world. Like I've always said, I don't care if I'm the next Walt Disney, but I want to teach the next 10 like Disney types out there. Like I want to be able to reach every single one of them and be like, yes, reach for your potential, and be like old man Miyagi, teaching you guys the basics through like fun little exercises like this shit, and then just have you guys remember me when I die. And that's it. Like that is my path. That is my goal as an artist. That is the path that I have set through myself for my career. I shall be an educator. I will be an author of my own how to draw books, and that will hopefully, like sustain me while I do speaking engagements and conventions and things where I get to meet all of the people that I teach, and encourage people just as a profession. Literally, I just want to be a professional encourager. Professional motivational speaker would be kind of cool, but I don't want to do it just I want to do it to people that work in the art world. Like I don't want to motivate lawyers. Sorry, that was like the other profession that I was kind of go into if I didn't go into art, and I am thankful every single day of my life that I did not do that, because the idea of arguing for a living is so soul crushing in my brain that I can't even fathom a concept or timeline in which Rod decided to do that and was happy. Like my life has been super interesting. I would not say like easy, but it's been really interesting. And it's all thanks to me gambling everything on me being able to draw better than I did in high school. And if you guys saw my drawings in high school, you would realize that that was a really shitty gamble. I was terrible. I got hustled into art school, and that's why I'm so careful with giving people the like advice of going to art school. I got hustled into going into a $50,000-$60,000 art school because I really wanted to do that. right? I really wanted to draw, so I got hustled by this for-profit school called the Art Institute of California, and essentially they told me like, oh, sold me in all these promises and dreams and shit like that, when I couldn't even draw like a proper sphere. I couldn't draw a circle for the life of me, honestly. And they were like pushing the idea of me being a concept artist within a 3-year span, in which they didn't even teach me how to draw more than like 2 classes. So yeah, I'm bitter. Yeah, I'm annoyed. And yeah, that's the type of shit that I want to avoid. So I saw how many lives were ruined by this shit. They were ruined. Like people that went into debt and were never able to like escape it. Ruined because of going to art school and not understanding what they both of like their expectations, realistic expectations of going to art school are not going to be a character designer for Disney. Okay? It's gonna be mostly learn Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign enough and website stuff and coding so that you can actually survive out there in any field that you go into, not necessarily animation. Like if you go into it thinking I'm just gonna do that one thing, whoo, ooh, my lord, you are going to have a tough career. You are going to suffer, and that's gonna suck. So take that like advice from me. Don't do that. Like don't be like that person that's just like I'm going to do this one thing and that's it, because you will be sorry you did that. I promise you. All right, so let's count hands. All right. Oh man, we're gonna have to take this in quadrants. Okay, hold on. Gonna go from the top down, maybe. Ah, where do I even start? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54. 54 heads so far. Hands so far. 54. All right, so 54 so far. Let's finish 60, and then we'll finish the other 40 on the other page. Oscar Rendon Rodgun streams almost daily. For me in Belgium, it starts around 8 p.m. Over here at the Pacific Coast, we are more at 11 o'clock timetable. I like to go on early before like the evening really sets in, and this is like tends to be like the easiest time for me to do it. So I find it really convenient, and it's allowed me to be able to stream more. So that is the most important part to me. Like I need to be able to make it easy on myself without like any other prior commitments and stuff like that, so that I can actually be consistent. With me, I'm not a person that is very good at maintaining routines for myself. So I have to actively keep that in mind. Like if I don't do it at 11, I will more likely than not stream that day, just because my brain is going to be like, "Ah, you messed up. Ah, everything is thrown out of that." So I'll just overthink things and everything. So I just normally have everything set up the night before so I can stream at the time I need, and then I don't have to worry about shit. Like a little bit of preparation helps out a lot. 57. Wrist. It's a hand from behind. Knuckle. Triangle from our wrist. No, from our thumb into our jelly bean. Our thumb. You can have a knuckle or like a finger sticking out a little bit. But it kind of looks like a cobra head, right? Like, psst. 57. We'll draw things being held in the other side. Once we have these, then we'll move on to the other side to draw things being held by the objects. And then we'll talk about how to draw that. But before then, make sure to like and hit that little button right here. We'll draw a little tattoo on the hand. So you guys try to aim for this guy. Okay? A little prison tattoo. See if you guys can hit it. No, if you guys on YouTube probably think I'm being weird, but I'm like moving the camera a little bit so that I can actually like play around with that. Okay, 57. So essentially, the width of your hand is only the width of your knuckles. Like, you really think about like how important your knuckles are. The width of your knuckles is the width of your hand. That's it. It's that simple. The width of your knuckle is the width of your hand. So whenever you're drawing, draw your knuckle, and now you have a top and a bottom. Right? So now you have a top and a bottom to your hand. Boom. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Hi, I heard you said doing only animation is tough, but I'm currently learning coding and 3D animation. That's really cool. Like, learn all the techniques. Learn graphic design. Learn fashion. Learn, drafting. Learn sculpting. Learn painting. Learn drawing. Learn everything. Like, the title that you get at the end of your career means nothing. You're an artist. You're a creative. You are an awesome design studio within one single person. You are not limited by just being called a graphic designer or an animator. You're a damn, like, creative mind, right? You're much more than any of that shit. So why call yourself just an animator or a coder? Like, is being relevant to a single, like, or is it more important to you to have the status of being called that? Which is very interesting too, right? Like, what's more important? To be called a certain thing or be that certain thing? Or know that it's just in your tool set? What if it's just in an arsenal and then that's just another thing that you can do? So it's not, I don't know. I just find it weird when people just try to label themselves as a specific type of designer. It's just weird to me. Like, I mean, call it whatever you guys want, but that's just a little weird. It's still blurry. Is it blurry? Doesn't look blurry. Hold on. Maybe it's the angle. No, it looks fine to me. Let me know if it's still blurry over on YouTube. Okay, remember doing the Draw Turtle brochure, sending it once, and then it was younger, but I don't remember if it was Art Institute. It's not blurry. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a big concern of mine because I've like spent a while trying to like get this shit. So 56, 57, 58, 59. Let's draw one more here. So little by little, you start realizing little tiny mapping points. And kind of like we are used to drawing eyes and we're used to drawing uh, hands and feet and everything, like little by little, we start just figuring out the things that are easier for us, right? And you just have to start applying the things that you apply to other things you draw into everything. So instead of thinking of styles, like I repeat this like 6 times per stream, which is like just something that I just feel like you need to repeat. Don't draw in styles, okay? Think of the style as just the final step to your drawing, right? If you have your structure for your hand, you can do anything you want to this structure, right? Anything. You can make it a robot, you can make it a, I don't know, you can make it into anything. Like a beast, monster, human. But the structure of the hand doesn't change. The arm in itself is going to function very similar in both animals, robots, characters. Stylized things are normally just basic anatomy pushed to a style choice. Your style choice is determined by your line work. It could be different fingers for each one of these if you really wanted to, right? Because the style is literally just the defining line work and coloring and other like thick to thin options that you choose. That doesn't have anything to do with how you should structure your character. Okay, so it's a matter of understanding the basic shapes and just your basic construction that we all, again, that we all think we know and we all assume we know, but we never really actually put into practice. Your perspective and your anatomy come into play here. If I did not know that there was a bone here, right? Those two bones create these elements right here in your wrist. Right? That creates this little wrist part that happens at the back of the hand. That is your bone connecting to your palm, creating that little tiny pocket of skin. Now, that little bump connects to your muscles that are wrapping around your bone. So this is what's going on when you're drawing your characters. The knowledge of anatomy allows me to know that this is there, but the knowledge of perspective allows me to draw my basic shapes to replicate that. And if you don't think like that, if you can't see things like that yet, there's exercises that you can follow and things that you can do to get there. So 49 to go. Wait, that was 58, 59. One more. Let's do one more for this one. So that'll be 60 on this side. Let's just make some sad fingers. Ooh. Shape dynamics play a huge role too. Shape dynamics are like something that like is very rarely taught. Alright, so we have 60. Let's finish coloring them in. And then the next 40 will be just drawing our hands holding something. Right? It'll be holding objects, or how to like wrap your hand shape around objects, and how to like map things out when you're like trying to have more interesting hand shapes. So far, what do you guys think of the lesson? I love the sketchbook videos, but I like when he does the Cintiq videos better because he can color code faster and the images are more clear. Yeah, I mean, that is the give and take, right? Like, I want to draw in my sketchbook. I prefer to show my streams through TikTok with the sketchbook because it's just something that people don't do, right? Most people don't go ahead and teach and do entire pages of sketchbooks on stream. They'll do it, but they won't do it like I do. So I like the unique approach to what I do, and also it just makes it fun for me because if I mess up, there's no undo here. All right, this is all pen and watercolor, two not very forgiving mediums. Two mediums that if you mess up, there's no erasing it. So I like having that part of my art. I like having errors. I like having mistakes. Like, I don't like my art being clean all the time. There's a time and a place for everything, of course, but for me, my sketchbook is meant for mistakes. My sketchbook is where I'm supposed to experiment, where I'm supposed to push my limit, where I'm supposed to understand, like, or try to attempt to understand different concepts that don't make sense to me. Because that's my sketchbook. It's not my gallery book. It's not my portfolio. It's not anything other than my sketchbook. When you put too much importance on creating every piece absolutely beautiful in your sketchbook, you're keeping yourself from drawing, which keeps keeping you from creating awesome art, which is going to keep you from getting that really cool sketchbook that you want. Because it's literally just like a downward spiral of like things, and I highly suggest against it. Okay, so we have 60 hands. Oh man. Alright, so 60 hands, and now we're gonna draw 40 hands holding something. Oh man, that's gonna be a little bit. What is going on here? Cause, dude, man, I hate having to fucking block people. Like, why are people annoying? Like, dude, I will block you in a second. Like, why do you. There you go. Jesus Christ, man. Like, people are just so fucking annoying. Alright. So, onwards! Hands holding things. So, hands holding things are very fun to do because you don't have to draw the whole hand. But you have to still visualize the hand going around thingies. I like sketchy art. Yeah. Isabella Cakes. Also, thank you for answering my message earlier. It really inspired me. Oh, you're welcome. Hot Rashi, bro, all you doing is doodling. Yeah. So, I am doodling and teaching people how to draw. All you're doing is criticizing and being a little bitch. So, goodbye. Let's just block you. How about that? Doody 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 doo. There you go. Now you don't get to learn shit. Ba-da-da-da-da. See, I have a zero tolerance policy with I really don't appreciate people trying to be funny and trying to do it at the behest of getting attention. But so I just that's how you just deal with it. You just don't interact. So whenever you are drawing elements like balls or cups or anything like that, the first thing that I like to do is I like to draw my digits. I like to draw my fingers because that's going to give me a couple of indications. Like if this is the thumb, I already know, like mentally, I'm already thinking of this, right? I'm already thinking of an element that has a potato chip type of like feel. So just by simply creating this element with this darkened side for perspective in my brain, I can easily map out the rest. I can even make like a little pinky up or like a little finger up or whatever. Tune, tune, tune. Traditional over digital. See, no, like, you guys don't really get it. Like, there is no distinction between traditional and digital. It's just a tool, right? It's how you use that tool that defines like what you do. I could make my digital stuff look like this, and I can make my traditional stuff look like digital stuff, but why would I try to do that? It's just a different tool. You use it for different things. Oh, there you go. It's just wrapping around it. If you start thinking and categorizing yourself within like a very small demographic, like I only do sculpting through ZBrush, I only do Illustrator work because I don't touch any other programs. I'm a Procreate artist. Dude, you know what you're doing? You're saying, right? You're like, I literally, what I hear when people say that is like, I can't use anything else. That's what I hear. I hear, I can't use any other tool. Therefore, I'm going to stick to this and claim this as my own. That's a perfectly valid way of approaching things. Perfectly valid. Like, there's no, like, thing that I'm not condemning anything. But you got to realize that that's what you're doing. Right? If you are aware that you are limiting yourself and like categorizing yourself because of your limitation of learning or capability of having focus to be able to learn something, then yeah, cool. That's awesome. But own that shit. Accountability, right? Can you draw someone getting punched by someone else? I want to see how you would take the poses. Since we are drawing hands, we can probably, yeah, that's actually fitting. So let's draw somebody punching someone. Now, how do I want to show that? I would probably want to show the face first, because that's going to be like the facial expression that's going to be like used. Now, when I'm drawing a face that's getting punched, I'm going to be distorting the face, right? It's going to be like putty. Like whatever is getting hit is going to have an impact right here. I can just draw a pillow getting punched really quickly and then just try to make a face around that. So first we draw our pillow. Then we are going to draw our face being punched, which means that our cheeks and everything get like moved up this way and scrunched up to the side. So our cheek is pushing into our eyeball. So blank. And then we'll have like another eye like there you go. He's gonna get punched. All his hair is gonna go. So if someone's getting punched, first of all, I don't want to just draw like a flat, like, you know, just like a flat line to show indication of thing. Most people don't punch like professional boxers anyways. So I would draw at a slight angle, draw my potato chip ridge, and then just draw the force by drawing speed lines, impact lines. Remember, the wrist has that little area for flexibility, right? So that means that your hand, your arm, isn't just straight into your knuckles, right? It's not like this. You don't go completely straight. It actually comes in at an angle. Then you have your little area, and then that's when your hand comes in. So think about your characters just having like a little like Chun-Li wristband or some shit like that. And this area is what flexes whenever you bend it down, whenever you bring it up. This is the area that flexes. Right? So that is another little tip for you guys. Now, if you guys actually are enjoying what I'm doing, don't forget to click the subscribe button. I want to get to the 100,000 followers on YouTube. So if you guys want to be so generous as to go subscribe to that, that'd be awesome. If I get to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, I can make that into a straight up like permanent thing. So if you guys want and feel inclined to help, literally just hop on your YouTube app, find me, and just add me or like sub. That's all I require. That's all I ask. But that's only if you guys actually learn anything from this. If you guys aren't learning anything, then don't. Sabrina Dance, thank you so much. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about other things. Let's say that we are, for example, like wrapping your hand around a friend, right? So we have like a character. And we have like our character. And you want to have like your hand wrapping around them. We'll have like a little like it's like simple storytelling time. Okay, so let's say that this guy is going to like be like talking to him right here, like being a little charming, having like little dexterity with his fingers, right? I play a little bit with floopy like shapes until I get to a shape that I like. In this case, I kind of like that, and I'm just gonna fill in this shape with the information that we know. We have our middle finger and our index finger already, which means that our middle finger gives us the middle of our hand. So I know that the middle of my hand is right there. The middle of my hand leads to where my pinky's gonna go. I have one more finger that I have to account for, and then I have to account for my thumb. So it's just, once you understand the elements that are supposed to be in there, then you can Oh, we decided to make this into the finger going up, and then this is going to be the arm. Let's draw a little t-shirt or something. There you go. So now if you wanted to wrap something going into the other side, you have to draw through your elements, find where your knuckles would sit on the actual character. The knuckles, remember, the knuckles is the width of the hand. So rest your knuckles on them, and then you already have your fingers. So you don't have to really think much after that. Scrunchless, oh, soundless. I started watching your YouTube videos this morning, and I can't wait to binge them all. Really helps my art. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad that I have been of help. Again, if you guys know of any school that is hiring teachers for art, this is literally your chance to get me to work for your school. Now, the only caveat is I can't be in California because California requires a master's degree. I don't have a master's degree. So it's just a matter of like going to a different state or something like that, which sucks, but I mean, it has to be done if I want to be a teacher. So if you guys do know of anybody that's hiring any art school that would like a teacher such as myself, I'm looking. Space and sometimes my faces look like they're flat when I out them. What? Sometimes my faces look like they're flat when I out them on a face. How? What? I have no idea what you said. Florida is desperate for teachers. You know, like if you know of any colleges or any art schools that like want art teachers, design teachers that can teach anything, pretty much anything, let me know. That would be very much appreciated. I've been just looking all over, and I figured that if I'm going to take a job, if I'm going to take another job for someone, it's going to be through education. It's not going to be, that's going to be the only type of jobs that I take. If I'm able to reach kids and I have more resources thanks to working for somebody else, then that's literally the only caveat that would be like make me want to actually work for someone again. Super foreshortened arm. You will not get away with this. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hands. Let's see what else. Come on, YouTube peeps. Let's kick TikTok's ass. Yeah, if you guys want to compete, see who gets more likes. We have 12,000 likes over on TikTok, so that's going to be tough to beat on YouTube. I know UK schools need art teachers. Emily, I will be over there, so I mean, I could honestly like make the effort to go into like London and see and talk to people. I just need contacts. Like if I am able to get someone on the phone, I will charm them into a job. Like I am incredibly good at like interviews. And the problem with being really good at interviews is that means that I've had a lot of jobs, right? And you know, honestly, you get so tired of working for other people sometimes. Oh my god, it's like it's just so draining. Like it's so incredibly taxing to like put all your creative energy into other people's projects and then like have them be so like ungrateful. You get used to it, and the problem is getting used to that. Like it's just a shitty situation to have to get used to it. So it's, I don't know, it's going to always be, for me, it's going to be like, if I can get pie without having to work for someone, I'm going to do that. If I have to work for someone, it's going to have to be something that I enjoy. And if I don't enjoy it, then what's the point of me doing something creative? Might as well just go do like something that's going to just give me more money so that I can do my creative things whenever I feel like it. Right? So it's like always like a give and take. Like either you find a job that fulfills you creativity, like, and is like something that you enjoy doing, or you find something that helps fuel the ability to do that by having a job that gives you enough money to be able to do that. So you just have to like choose which path of those you want to take, and then take it. Remember, this is the width of my hand. So this is the bottom of my hand. So I can map out like my thumb is in a weird position. So I'm going to change it. Now that I know the bottom of my hand, I know that my fleshy parts are at the bottom of my hand. So I can map out little fleshy parts that lead to the little cone that lead to my thumb. Cool. I know that my thumb has to have a little bit of space for the webbing in your thumb. So my front finger here can't be that close. It has to be moved a little bit forward. Which is perfectly fine because it happens all the time. We already know the bottom of our hand, so we already know that little bump that happens underneath our finger. Right? That little bump between the webbing, that's just our knuckle. So we already drew the knuckle, so we have our finger, our thumb coming out. We have the webbing that connects to the middle of our finger over here. And then we have our knuckle line underneath. So we have our fingers that protrude. We have the knuckle line underneath and our finger connecting to our knuckle at the top. Knuckle, finger, finger shape. I'm not even concerning myself with like actual like finger shapes. I'm just placing things in the right place and it's gonna look right. Knuckle for the next finger down, and you wouldn't see probably the pinky. Then your wrist connects as a cylinder to your hand. You have your little fleshy part for flexibility, and then it goes into your hand muscles. So that is, oh, this line right here that happens from your wrist is literally just this bone. That is what is going on there, like this, and then it's the muscle that wraps around it that makes it go away. So that's why you get that little like weird thing like from your forearm, right? Your forearm, you get that little bump, right? And then it becomes flat for some reason. You're like, ah, this is weird. I don't know how to draw this. This is so complex. Ah. So what's happening here is your wrist Because your bony part of your wrist is more like a cylinder, and then it connects to a bigger shape that's more like an oval. So you end up with this shape. It tapers a little bit more towards the end point, which kind of just makes it look like this, like a light bulb or something. But understanding what is going on here is what's going to make you be able to draw this better, right? It's not like once you get to a certain point in your art career, especially if you're going to be going into animation and all those things, this is going to be already expected of you. You're going to be expected to know how to do this. This is going to become a basic thing that you need to be excellent at, right? It stops being like, oh, well, how do I draw this? As opposed to like, nah, like you better know how to draw that because you have deadlines, right? So it's not something that is even in question when it comes down to if you should learn it. You really should learn it. Like, it should be something that you actively spend time and effort trying to get better at. We have 48. Would you postpone your Scotland trip if you got an art school teaching job? No. I'd just make both of them work. I'd figure out a way to make it work. But any job that I get is probably not going to start till maybe like the semesters begin in like April or something like that. So by the time we work out a deal and everything, when it comes down to a job, it might be like around like then, and then by then I'd be perfectly okay with going. My life will be my life. Like whatever I do with someone in like a sense of romance and love is gonna have to be around what I want out of my life too. So I'm going to have to, if I want that and that happens, I'll figure out a way to make it work. That simple. Like I'm a smart person, so like odds are I'll be able to figure out a way to make something happen if I need it. Okay, wait, what did you say? Spy BS. We have 48. What? Oh, man, I just finished 2 years of studying software development to pursue starting my own business. I want to incorporate my art and music into it through various projects. Yeah, awesome. That's fantastic. That's really cool. Blue Devil, I'm thinking Rodgun will probably end up doing his own art school like Mark Burnett did. I'm not really sure who Mark Burnett is because I don't really know the name of artists. I've probably seen his artwork or something. But it's just like I don't want to follow in anyone's footsteps. I just want to do it the way that I want to do it. And if that happens to become profitable, then awesome. If not, I will keep at it until I find a way to make it work for me. Like, that will be my goal this coming year. Like, it's not an if it makes it work. I'm gonna make it fucking work. Right? I'm not gonna, like, ask the world to give me permission. I'm just gonna force my way in there and see how much value I can bring so that I become invaluable to that side of, the industry. So essentially what I want to do, if I'm able to at some point or another, is become essentially what Bob Ross is, but for people that want to make this into like an actual living. And actually like give you guys the advice that you guys need. Not necessarily what you want to hear to get the likes. Because that's the tough part. Like, the tough situation is when like you just hear all the things you want to hear, and no one is telling you a contrary view. So you believe it, you keep at it for years, and then you end up realizing how many mistakes you made because you were so confident, because so many people told you just like, yes, yes, that's beautiful, yes, that's awesome, yes, yeah, yeah, that's all cool, oh man, you're gonna do great. All those comments, like, very they're very reaffirming, but at the same time they're very detrimental as well, because they hinder your growth. So you got to take everything, the good and the bad, with a grain of salt, right? Like, don't just assume that what people say, negative or positive, is necessarily right or true. Like, be subjective or objective of what the things that you like, like, hear. If it's something that just sounds like someone's trying to people please, odds are they're trying to people please, and they're trying to just make you like smile and take it for what it is, right? If that's something that somebody wants to do for you, then allow it. Like, maybe it's good that you like, let somebody like tell you that your art is cool. Maybe you just need a little bit reassurance, right? But at the same time, realize that all that comes, with bias and stuff like that as well, especially when it's our family members. So in this case scenario, I drew the back of the wrist first, and then I imagine my shape more of that shape, and then I have a top to the wrist. So this is what I imagined in my head first, and then I added the finger going around. That connects to the wrist right here, creating a little bit of an overlap and a crease. The knuckles would be right here, which are also going around my shape, right? My knuckles are the width of my hand. So if I'm gripping this really tight, all my knuckles are really, really on that stick. So therefore my knuckles would be like super, like more adamant. So whatever you're drawing, let's say you're drawing another cup, right? Wherever you put your knuckles, that's where your hands are gonna go, right? So that's your knuckles. Literally, it's just little balls. So anywhere you put that, it already gives you a mapping point for like the best of your body, especially if it's the middle hand. Let's make that a little bigger. So if I have my knuckle here and my hand in this weird shape, all we got to do is start figuring out where our fingers are going to go. So in this case scenario, maybe we have one finger here, one finger here, and one finger like straight up sticking out like that. Right? From there, we figure out a little potato chip or like rounded shape, so we can figure out the little fleshy parts underneath. And then once we have our little fleshy parts, we know where our thumb is supposed to be coming out from. So in this case, it would probably be behind the element. And then this front part of the cup would be held with the little fleshy part of your hand, making it a more complex hand shape than you would if you just put your thumb over here. That connects to the wrist. And even though it is a little bit of a weird hand shape, it still makes sense, and it looks like it would be a viable way to hold your cup if you were drunk or whatever. But doing that by drawing your knuckle line over the object that you're trying to draw is going to be the best way to do it. Recently see your channel and fell in love.
Keep going. You are very inspiring for me. Blue Devil, for me personally, self taught just means that you didn't pursue education in a formal setting. See, what I like to say is self taught is somebody that just didn't pay money to learn it. Like somebody that didn't go and pay, like, got a loan and ended up like going into debt for that shit. That is what I consider being self taught. Whenever I say that somebody went to school or got formal education, it's normally because they went and paid a large amount of money to be able to be taught how to do that. Okay, this type of hand shape, right? I'm thinking again, I'm looking at it from behind, so I'm thinking of the connection with the wrist, right? That is the first thing that I visualize, and then I draw my wrist. From there, I know that my wrist is going to be roughly at the midpoint. So I know that if I follow this shape over here, wherever I trace this endpoint is going to be my middle finger. So I'm going to make it over here. Since I know that this is my index, my middle finger has to be close. That traces the shape back. From there, I know that to this side, there's 1. To this side, there's 2. But you don't see those. You could even like push the shape and then show a little bit of that like end over there, because you understand that your hands are flexible and maybe they squish or whatever. Okay. Your thumb, again, is just your knuckle, followed by a little cone and into your digit. And then just by overlapping the shapes, you have a really cool back hand position. Salute. Lots of best artists are self-taught, I found, which motivates me. At the same time, nobody is really technically self-taught. Yeah, it's very impossible to be self-taught in the essence of being absolutely taught from scratch and, you know, like not learning anything from anyone. Yeah, that's like almost an impossible task unless you're like locked up with no inspiration from anybody or anything, and then you like try to like create artwork without even knowing what artwork really is, because then if you know what artwork is, it's probably because you've seen somebody else and therefore categorize that in your brain as artwork. So therefore you would never have an absolute zero frame reference for somebody that actually just wants to create something from scratch. So yeah, if you want to be pedantic and then like, you know, like get to that level, yeah, of course no one's self-taught. But when it comes down to, for example, me, like I learned through education and going to art school, I learned how to use the basics of art. So that was Photoshop, composition, color theory, and very basics of like life drawing and stuff like that. Right? I learned those things, but what I did with them is the more important part, right? I didn't categorize myself as an animator and then just focus on just trying to get jobs doing what I studied. I went and I did videos, I did animation, I did graphic design, I did fashion, I did industrial design, I did architectural designs. I've done everything in the like probably in the spectrum. And it's all always similar. Everybody in those industries tends not to even have studied those industries, right? So most of the time you will get people that are really good at a job that they didn't go to school for it. And that's awesome, because that's going to happen with a lot of you guys too. Right? You guys will end up in jobs in situations that you guys never really thought that you would end up being in. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You got to realize that like the art world has so many different aspects and elements to them. Like every production alone has like a gigantic amount of designers and artists and like it's overwhelming how many jobs you can actually have in the industry. So whatever idea you have at the age of 18, 19 of what your career will be, you have no idea, buddy. You will probably go off and do something that you have absolutely not even a clue right now what it is. In about 5 years' time, most likely the one thing that you think is the all be all of your career will probably not be as important as you think it is. And that's going to come along with different opportunities that present themselves to you. It's going to come with different things that come as you learn new skill sets and the way that you expand the way that you learn. And that's all going to come with time, and it's going to come with experience. It's not just going to magically appear, right? It's not just going to magically happen to you. You're not just going to wake up one day like Spider-Man and have like all these magical powers, right? It's going to happen progressively, and most likely you will not see a big difference yourself. And other people will have to like tell you that you're going through that shift. So be patient with yourself, okay? Be patient. The moment something clicks, the moment anything clicks, it's there forever, okay? So take the time to study it properly. Take the time to practice it often. Take the time to understand what you're drawing, so that whenever you are presented with a chance to do something amazing like a commission or like an opportunity for a job, you can just blow everybody away instead of having to wait for that moment to learn how to do it. Right? We're like kind of like vultures, honestly. We're like opportunistic creatures, artists, right? The moment that we see an opportunity, we have to jump on it. And that's like a shitty like way to like kind of like reference artists, I guess, but it's just how it is, really. Like we have to take advantage and jump on every opportunity that comes to us. All right, let's do a little recap real fast, and then we'll count how many hands we have left. So the first part of the 100 hand challenge ended up with about 60 of our hands. A hand resting on a chin. Sure. Like, okay, so that's going to be like this. We're going to have a face. Right, we're just going to draw a basic face with a little bit of shape. And then we are going to draw hands over it. Like I said, all you got to do is position your knuckles. So draw your knuckles around the shape that you want, and then just draw your fingers coming from that shape. Now if you meant like the whole like thinker position, right? If you were thinking of like the whole like, so if you have a hand resting on the chin, again, we're just going to draw our knuckles resting on our chin, and then just draw your hand around your knuckles. Right? So when you're drawing a hand, draw your knuckles. Realize the second knuckle is normally the middle of the hand, and then just draw your fingers around that. That's another way of approaching it. Well, thank you so much. What? Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so let's count how many hands we have so far in this side. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So we have 24 hands so far. So that leaves us with 16 hands. 16 hands left. We have a lot of space, so we get to draw big hands. Let's see. Let's draw something small getting grabbed. So if you're drawing something little, first of all, the angle in which you draw something little is going to play a big role to make it look like it's something little. Right? Especially if you're going to get picked up by a big finger. And I'm going to show you guys how to figure out everything from literally this. So let's make this into like a little gummy bear or something. Okay, so now we have a gummy bear. And I'm going to pick up my gummy bear. So the first thing that I'm going to do to come up with a hand shape like this for this is to come up with my digits that are going to connect to my shape, right? I want this digit to be looking up, right? So it's just like a little box. I want this to look up so it looks like it's about to touch the gummy bear, but not quite. And in this side, I just need a shape that's going to be the thumb. Just with the basic understanding of what we have been talking about, we are going to come up with the rest of the hand just by basic mapping into space of these things. We're going to think about it and we're going to come up with everything. So what do we know from this? We have one digit. That means that we have this much of the thumb of the finger to go off. So what do we know matches that length? That length is matched by this other side of the digit, right? So this part and this part are the same distance. So now that I know this, once I've established how far that is, the next dimension that I put is going to give me a lot more information. So let's say that I wanted it right there. That's going to be the next segment of my finger. So now those two together are going to give me the distance of my entire finger down to the bottom of my knuckle. So whatever distance this is, I have to map that same distance into perspective to the bottom of my knuckle. So that's my palm knuckle. That's my index knuckle. So that means that there's going to be either the thumb is on this side. So if that's the index, then I have my middle thumb finger is going to be next to it. At some point or another, it could be up here, it could be out here. I'm just going to choose to bring it down. So I'm going to draw middle finger. My middle finger is going to give me, I'm going to bend the finger down because that's what you would do when you're trying to grab something. But this is going to give me the middle of my hand. So the middle finger is going to point in the direction of wherever your arm is going. It's very rare that your middle finger and your wrist are not pointing in the same direction. Right? So whatever direction my little middle finger is pointing, that's going to be the direction of my arm. So I get to choose the direction of my arm at this point. It could be this way, it could be this way. I just got to remember that it goes back into my wrists and then it's going to change direction for my arm. So let's do it like that. These other fingers would also be bent, and I also remember that I have 2 more knuckles to my hand. So now I have all 4 knuckles, and I just go finger by finger, drawing them in. If I have my knuckles, I have the underneath part of my hand. So I already know where the bottom of my arm and hand is going to be. So if this is the bottom of my index knuckle, and this is where my wrist is in the back, because I connected it to the arm, then I can easily map out where my thumb is supposed to come out from. And then when you start adding negative space and negative shading to like show just the features, you end up with a pretty decent hand going into perspective. I'm about to grab something. Or maybe he just grabbed it. There you go. Of course, with a pencil, it'll be a lot cleaner and it'll be a lot more accurate. So, you know, enjoy the ability to erase. I personally don't like doing it. I like just doing things like this and then figuring out where I could have gotten it better. So if it doesn't look quite right, or maybe it's just too messy. And then just little by little, I will fix my own mistakes and I will just be able to draw more accurately. All right, so we have 2, we have 12 left. Okay. Gotta go, but you think you can do some lives after 4? I might be able to today. Like, I don't think I have anything much to do today. So I might jump on again at some point, but it'll probably just be on TikTok. It won't be on YouTube. The thing is, I can go on TikTok and stream, and I don't have to like worry about like copyright claims and stuff because I can listen to TV and stuff like that. Blue Devil, can you draw gnarled zombie hand with 1 cracked fingernails? Sure. So if you wanted to draw something creepy like a zombie hand and stuff like that, it's no different than any other hand. We're just going to draw 2 next to each other. What I'm drawing here is the width of the hand by literally creating depth. That is going to give me the tallness of my knuckles. And that provides me the shape that I'm going to need really, really quickly. If to draw like a zombie type of hand, it's no different than, let's say, like drawing like a normal hand. All right, let's just draw a normal hand here, and then we'll draw a comparison. The reason that it becomes a little harder is because we have to show a little bit of the anatomy underneath. So, like basic anime, like super simple hand type of thing. Hand you would use for like a pin-up or a comic or something like that. I don't know why I'm so tired. Anyways, we're going to take the same elements, knuckles, but maybe we want really sharp knuckles. So we want extra pointy knuckles. Then maybe we want really, really scraggly fingers. So maybe the fingers don't point in the same direction. So it's like we start curling it more. Maybe you distort the anatomy a little bit just so it looks a little bit more gruesome. As long as you keep a consistent amount of parts that consist of the hand, it's gonna look okay. Now, when it starts looking bad, is not because you're making them look like going to different directions and stuff like that. When it starts looking bad is when we stop figuring or thinking where it connects to our bodies. Right? How when we stop like relating this and thinking of like the spatial awareness of the elements, that's when we lose the ability to draw stylized things, because we're replacing knowledge with seemingly style. And when you start doing that, it just starts looking bad. But if you know your placements, it becomes really easy to draw things in any perspective, shape, or form. Mostly because no one can take away the shapes from you. No amount of style will make you draw something bad when you know how to draw it right. A hand with armor. So hands with armor, right? Like, are still hands. Let's say that like you have like a fist. Like a boxing glove would be armor for your hand, right? That is just a protection for your hands and your wrists. So if you're worried about like drawing mittens or like boxing hands, those are like the easiest hands to draw, because it's just like a little big jelly bean. So hand with armor, though, if you wanted to like draw armor on a hand, all you got to do is think of your shape, think of your knuckles, right? And then you're just drawing elements on top of a 3D shape. So you can add whatever you want. Like if you want to add like wrist plates, you can just add some wrist plates. You can add some like wrist guards. Like you can add anything you want. Like, but you need to understand the spatial awareness of your shape so that you can add to it. It's really hard to be able to do these sort of things when you can't see your shape as a 3D shape, right? If you can't subdivide things like this or visualize things like that, it's going to be really hard for you to draw armor, let's say, on every finger or every segment, right? You can add like things like spikes and stuff like that just by knowing the 3D spacing between here. So if you're ever wondering why like it's so easy for some people to do this, it's because they've spent the time unlocking this, right? Like this is not something that's easy or even remotely like fun to like have to learn, but it takes a while, and then once you learn it, it becomes awesome. I believe we hit the 30 mark. Are you still going for 100 or did you drop it down? No. We're going for 100. We already did 60 over here. We did 60 already in the stream. We've been doing this since 11 o'clock in the morning. So now we are getting close to the end. Shit, I totally lost track. If someone can give me a count of how many faces are here, that'd be awesome. Foreshortened hands. Nice drawing. Foreshortening hands. Well, foreshortening hands. So whenever you have your hand looking forward, right? Let's say that it's being bent and your fingers are coming forward. The biggest part of your hand is going to be your fingers. I'm going to draw the little fleshy parts underneath my hand. So if you know how to foreshorten a cylinder, right, which is relatively easy, you should be able to foreshorten a finger. Now, again, learning where to place these is going to be the key, right? Not just throwing cylinders in there. So first we identify the width of the palm or the hand by putting our knuckles in, because the knuckles identify the top and the bottom of our shape of our hand. Now from there, if a cylinder is this big, when you foreshorten it, when you bring it forward, it has to be a lot bigger, right? So we're going to connect those two, the knuckle to our first segment. Then if you want another segment, it has to be even bigger than that. Now you can push this into perspective more by creating a gigantic digit first and then just connecting everything to the back. So it can be a lot of different ways. If you want this to be off to the side, but be heavily foreshortened, it's the same concept. It's just the concept of basic cylinders and foreshortening just applied to the things that we really need to do, like the things that we really need to learn. Like, so it's like basic knowledge, but just applied to real life situations. I got confused because you said 24. You needed 16, and that was when you drew the resting chin hands. So, okay, so that was 16. 15, no, yeah, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. We have 8 more hands, and then we are done. So, if you guys get something out of this, remember, the width of your hand is only the width of your knuckles, right? Width of your hand is the width of your knuckles. So any shape you draw, whatever size the knuckles are, that's the width of your hand. Cool. Next, your knuckles for your thumb kind of float outside of your shape. Right? It kind of floats outside and it creates a little cone into a digit. Okay? Fingers start being counted from the bottom of the knuckle, and the first segment is going to be the same distance as the two next combined. So this distance is the same as this distance. 1, 1. But this one has 2 digits. 1, 1. Okay. Where people get it wrong is that they grab and they try to do that, but they don't consider the overlap of the knuckle and the arm. So that's where they get it wrong. You have to be good about learning how overlapping works in order for you to master drawing hands better. you need to know that fingers sometimes overlap each other depending on whatever hand expression or hand movement you're doing. There's going to be parts that don't get seen, right? Maybe your hand is hiding your finger and you don't see it because of your palm, or you don't see part of your finger because it's crossing this way, or any of those sort of situations call for overlaps. Now, it doesn't mean like you can make a really interesting hand look okay if you know where to place the things, but it's really hard to do it like without overlapping anything. That's just a tough thing to try to do. So we have a hand, any shape hand, any shape. It helps if it's a rounded one, but it can be any shape. From here, draw your first knuckle. I like to start with the middle of the hand because both sides of the hand can move in other ways rather than that. That's going to give me my knuckles, which gives me the width of my hand and gives me pretty much all the information I need at that point. Right? It's just a matter of understanding what you're sketching, how you're placing it, and then just learning the little tips of overlapping lines that will make the style that you like be more apparent. Mr. Awada, hello. Wesley Bates, what's up? We had 12 hands left. Now 7 faces. All right, so we have 7 left. Let's see. Now this time around, we're gonna draw somebody like strangling a little like dude or something. Okay, so we're gonna draw somebody just holding this guy down. Again, I'm going to draw my knuckles and think of what knuckles are actually gonna be making contact with them. So if I'm grabbing something really tight and trying to hold it down, I'm kind of creating like a bridge with my hand, right? It's like a little bridge. So maybe the middle knuckle's not touching them. So I know that this knuckle is gonna touch them. That's the index finger. Maybe my other finger is up. And then my other 2 fingers are going to be surrounding him. So this first knuckle is going to be there, and it's going to be wrapping around my character or just pressing down on him. This one right here, maybe I draw it up a little bit so it's just like in the air. This other knuckle, I just wrap it around the shape as well. And then this one wraps around here. Yeah, maybe like that. And then we'll make this into his little hand. Oh, snuggles. Let's see. Can you draw a giraffe eating mashed potatoes with a... No, I can't. I'm drawing hands. Gotta go take a dog for a walk. This was fun. Looking forward to the next one. Hey, thank you for being here. 6. gotta come up with a theme song for my channel. So knuckle line, knuckle line, knuckle line. Let's see, hold on. This one looks a little weird. So let's analyze this. Right, so what is throwing me off here? So if I'm looking at this hand right here, I gotta determine if that's gonna be the top or the bottom of the hand. Let's make that the top. So if that's the top, that means that this knuckle is here. That means the other knuckles are pointing this way. But you would see more of the top of the hand than you would see the bottom. So it'd be more of a situation in which you have your finger, and then you'd have your rest of your fingers pointing out that way. That would be how you would look. Cool. See, whenever you make a mistake, don't see it as a negative thing. Just see yourself correcting it and thinking of the right way to do it. We are often very, very bad at being very critical of our own selves, right? We often spend hours, if not days, just bashing ourselves in for not doing something right, or not doing something great, or not doing something that other people did better, or whatever. So as we end this stream, I want you guys to take a couple things in mind. I want you guys to remember, you don't have to draw perfect realistic hands all the time. All hands are very different and they have a lot of flexibility. So just remember the basic construction that makes up a hand, and remember to keep your shapes as 3D shapes as opposed to circles and squiggles, right? We don't think of circles, squiggles, lines, sketchies. We think about shapes like volume and perspective and spheres and cones and cubes and crap. Yes, and crap. So we need 3 more. What? Can you draw a hand doing a thumbs up, but on that thumb there is another hand doing 2? So a hand in which you have another hand doing a thumbs up. So a hand in which the hand is a thumb, in which that is doing a thumbs up, and then we'll do another thumbs up. Interesting Inception style hand. Rodgon, he is a cool son of a gun, and her teacher serves for fun. Oh my. Oh, that's awesome. Rodgon, he's so cool. I want a cheermate out of for me. Whee! Okay, we have a couple more. Like, yeah, like I just wanna grow my channel so I can teach people more. That's it. Like, if it never ends up being profitable, that would suck. But at the end of the day, like it's still gonna be there forever, so people like learn from it. And then some people will randomly stumble upon it after I'm like dead or something, and then they'll learn something, and you know, they'll create some awesome things in life. Just to be sure, we're gonna draw one more. But I think we have completed successfully 100 hands challenge. That took longer than I thought too. Like, holy shit! Like the hand one, the face one took forever. It took 4 hours, but this one didn't take that much shorter than that. That one, that's already like 2. So that means like 3 hours worth of time just drawing hands. I can honestly tell you that I do feel a lot more confident drawing hands just simply by this exercise alone. So if you guys feel inclined to want to level up a little bit, I really highly recommend that you guys try this. So spend an afternoon and just draw hands and analyze and think about what you're drawing. Think about what you're doing and try to talk talk it through. See if you can actually explain it. And if you can, then that means you understood it. And that means that it's going to work. What do you do when you get sick of working on the same picture? Finish it so that I don't have to see it again. Anyways, have a wonderful day, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed. Sabrina, send me that on Instagram, please. Like, so I can actually like make a jingle with that. That'd be awesome. Anyways, have a wonderful day, everybody. Oh yeah, and any information about the teaching stuff too, that'd be amazing. If anybody out there knows of anyone that wants to hire an art teacher, let me know. I am looking for a position. So you guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Love you all. Have a good night.